Don't be confused by the big media narrative of pro and anti-CAA protesters fighting it out in the streets of Delhi. And for heaven's sake, don't fall for the ludicrous claim made by the Minister of State for Home Affairs, G. Kishan Reddy, that the continuing violence is a conspiracy to defame India. As the death toll from the Delhi riots inches towards 30, I want you to remind yourself that until violence was cynically unleashed on the women and children protesting the Citizenship Amendment Act in different parts of northeast Delhi, most of whom are Muslim, the national capital had witnessed 70 days of peace. That's right, 70 days of peaceful protest across multiple locations. There was no stone pelting, no mobs on the rampage, no burning of shops and homes, only people sitting on dharna, surrounded by the national flag, copies of the preamble of the Constitution, and portraits of national icons like Dr BR Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, and Maulana Azad. So why did violence suddenly engulf the city? Who willed it? Who allowed it to happen? That's what we will look at in this episode of Beyond the Headlines. By now, there is no dispute that the violence and communal riots of the past 3 days clearly followed the call for direct action against the anti-CAA protesters that was made by BJP leader Kapil Mishra in full view of the Delhi police. Egged on by his words, a mob of Hindutva activists and lumpens attacked one of the sites of the anti-CAA protest in northeast Delhi. An investigation will reveal which organizations were involved in the mobilization of the crowd, because such mobs do not form spontaneously. The protesters they attacked fought back, and their matters ought to have ended if the Delhi police had done its job and if the Union Home Minister Amit Shah had done his. The media presented what was a violent attack on the anti-CAA dharna by a Hindutva mob as clashes between pro-CAA and anti-CAA protesters. But the ugly reality of what was really happening became evident that evening and the next day. If all you are motivated by is your support for the CAA, why would you chant slogans like Hindustan mein rehna hoga, to Jai Shri Ram bolna hoga? It was evident that the mobs which the Hindutva leaders had assembled had a different task: to intimidate and attack Muslims in general. The fact that nothing short of a communal riot was being imposed on Delhi became apparent on Tuesday when mosques, Muslim-owned shops, and Muslim homes were targeted across a number of areas in northeast Delhi. In scenes reminiscent of the demolition of the Babri Masjid in many ways, thugs climbed atop the Badi Masjid in Ashoknagar, Shadra, planted a saffron flag, and then tried to break away parts of the minaret. They then torched the mosque. My colleagues Naomi Barton and Avichal Dubey were in Ashoknagar and filed a quick story on the destruction of the mosque. The response of BJP supporters online was to claim the story was fake. No less a person than MOS Home Kishan Reddy demanded that action be taken against news platforms that published what he claimed was fake news. This attempt to deny the ugly truth about what was happening to Delhi under the watch of the Modi government obviously could not last long. After all, we had released video footage that we had ourselves been witness to. It then emerged that mosques were also attacked and burnt in Mustafabad. Worse, the meager huts of poor working Muslim families, the kind who work in your house and mine, the kind who build Delhi and keep it ticking, were destroyed by masked thugs shouting Jai Shri Ram. My colleague Raghu Karnad spoke to their Hindu neighbors who testified to this and added that the arsonists threatened to kill them unless they too chanted Jai Shri Ram.
जय श्री राम बोल रहे थे, इनसे पता लगता है कि बजरंग दल वाले
जय श्री राम बोल रहे थे, बस यही बोल रहे थे
हम इतना
कि
इतना
जय
पता
श्री राम बोलते रहो, तुम बचते रहो.
If it was possible for people in Delhi to still delude themselves that the government and police meant well and that they were battling some incredible conspiracy to defame India, the Delhi High Court's order at 1:42 a.m. on Wednesday should have cleared all doubts. At some level, it is shocking that this matter should have even reached the courts. But here's the story. There were 20-odd riot victims who lay injured in a small hospital in Mustafabad, the Al-Hind Hospital, and who needed to be transferred urgently to the government-run Guru Tegh Bahadur Hospital in order to receive proper treatment. The doctors at Al-Hind had been trying since 4 p.m. to get the police to provide an escort for ambulances to take the injured safely away, since the Hindutva mobs were still threatening them. Sadly, the police offered them no help. In desperation, the hospital authorities approached the High Court through a lawyer, and Justice S. Muralidhar convened a special sitting in his house and ordered the police to provide the victims safe passage, which they did. The same judge also pulled up the Delhi police on Wednesday afternoon for failing to even take cognizance of the hate speeches of BJP leaders. The judge, incidentally, is being transferred to the Punjab and Haryana High Court, according to a decision of the Supreme Court Collegium last week, but that's a story for another episode of Beyond the Headlines. Is there a pattern in what's played out in Delhi over the past 3 days and earlier incidents of communal violence? You bet there is. We saw all of this in the capital in 1984 when the Congress-led government presided over the massacre of thousands of Sikhs following the assassination of Indira Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi may have been a so-called inexperienced prime minister, but his home minister, Narasimha Rao, was no babe in the wood, and the Delhi police had tons of experience. Yet, they allowed more than 3,000 people to be killed. In Gujarat in 2002, Narendra Modi, as chief minister, presided over a state government that allowed more than 1,000 innocent Muslims to be killed by Hindutva thugs. In both 1984 and 2002, the police were mute spectators to the violence because they knew the mobs had the backing of the ruling party. Delhi 2020 is no different. A question many people ask is, why would Modi, Amit Shah and the BJP allow violence to take place at a time when they were playing host to Donald Trump? Why would they rain on their own parade? The answer, in my view, is quite simple. Remember the story of the scorpion and the frog? A frog is carrying a scorpion across a river as a favor, but then the scorpion bites the frog. As they both drown, the frog says, "Why did you bite me? We're both going to die now." And the scorpion shrugs his shoulder and says, "What can I do? It's in my nature." So, it's in the BJP's nature to polarize, even if its communal poison causes a PR disaster for India. For Modi and Shah, a US presidential visit is a one-off event, but politics and electioneering happens continuously. The BJP fought the recent Delhi Assembly election on a hard communal platform. They ran advertisements that were openly anti-Muslim, and BJP politicians freely circulated communal memes and images on social media. The one consistent message from these images and words was that Muslims are traitors, traitors need to be shot. Unfortunately for the BJP, Delhi's electorate did not succumb to this hate campaign, and though the Saffron Party's vote share improved by a few percentage points, it was still convincingly trounced by the Aam Aadmi Party. But even in defeat, the BJP saw a political opening in the AAP's refusal to openly confront its communal agenda. The BJP's local leaders calculated that even if we launch an aggressive movement against Muslims and stoke a communal riot and polarize the city, the Aam Aadmi Party will not be able to counter us because it cannot embrace the anti-Muslim rhetoric of the Hindutva Parivar or speak very aggressively against it. And in a polarized atmosphere, the BJP would be able to play to its strength once again. I'm personally quite convinced that when it comes to the BJP and the Sangh Parivar, there is no such thing as an accident. Nor do they ever lose sight of the long term. Everything the Parivar does is well thought out and planned, with each person and organization assigned the role that he, she, or it must play. The communal riots of 2020 are the opening shot in the BJP's campaign to retain power in the states where it still rules and, of course, at the center. With the economy showing no signs of recovery, desperate times call for desperate measures. The riots of 2002 helped make the BJP invincible in Gujarat. The work to bring this Gujarat model to Delhi has begun in earnest.